Hey guys, I'm RedeemedZoomer, and I have an important mission for 2025. I'm calling it
Why does he talk
Mission
like Thomas?
2025. And it's to make generation.
What's
his name?
Why does he give me Thomas Sheedy vibes?
No, don't say that
That-
more time.
Why does he give me? Is this just a thing amongst your generation to just have Thomas Sheedies?
Tom Sheedy is a Zoomer. There is that.
Yeah, but it's like this
Oh.
kid kind of reminds me of what's degenerate shithead's name? Of the brothers.
Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, Nick Fuentes. So he kind of reminds me of Nick Fuentes, just in his demeanor and the way he talks, who somewhat talks similarly to Thomas
Reminds
Sheedy.
me of Thomas Sheedy. Why are they?
I don't know. Let's continue.
I told Tom that when I first met him, I was like, you kind of like have the same cadence as Nick Fuentes, and it's scary. And he was like, oh, like, yeah, I'm sorry. It's just true. I'm curious to see what his grand plan is. I want to see. Might not be that interesting, but I'm.
There's one thing before we continue. One thing I noticed is the whole, from a formerly secular, now Christian Zoomer, right? This is one trick, a trick that so many Christian propagandists have done throughout the generations, right? And he's clearly not the first one. There's the millennial Christian propagandists who said this. There's Gen X Christian I was an atheist once, now I'm a Christian. It's like they always say that. Oh, I was formerly secular. But
You being edgy at 17 does not mean you were secular. Anyway.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Let us proceed.
hate that argument.
Yeah.
Like you being vaguely religious but not that strong in your faith when you were 17 and like living a more laissez-faire lifestyle because I don't know you were 17 does not mean
And
you were
wanted to fuck
secular.
around. Yeah. I mean, if anything, the whole, you were just an atheist because you wanted to sin. That argument is nothing but projection from these types. They were just atheists because they wanted to sin, right? I embrace my atheism for moral reasons.
It's like you know it's what happens whenever I hear like a Christian say, "Well, we would tell you not to rape people if you weren't religious," and it's like, "Hey, buddy, you wanna tell me something?"
I don't not rape people because someone tells me not to. I not rape people because that is fucking abhorrent. Because
you don't rape people, and why do you not rape people? Because they're an individual.
All right, actually, what I will say on this is I oppose rape for the same exact reason why I oppose the worship of their God. The exact reason, and that is that I believe that the individual is sovereign over their own life, that we are sovereign over our own minds, and that ultimately the rapist commits the same sin as the tyrant or the God. And that sin is the sin of attempting to dominate the life of another, attempting to dominate the existence of another being. So the whole how could you be an atheist and not engage in all sorts of horrible immoralities? Like the reason why I'm an atheist is because I oppose all that horrible immorality.
Christian by the end of the year. And I'm defining Christian as church going. Anyone can identify as Christian. Someone who attends church is someone who means it. And it's not going to be perfectly statistically accurate, but it'll be a good measure of whether we've succeeded. Because every generation.
What the fuck does that even mean? Church going does not mean any for the sincerity of your belief. So many people in the ancient world, and when I mean ancient world, I just mean like the first millennium, went to church because it was the social thing to do. It was the cultural norm without having any desire to believe in any of it. This has nothing to do with their devotion to their God.
Yeah. Let's continue.
Of rip.
Like the 1950s has gotten less religious in America. And the only way to make America Christian again is to Christianize America's youth. And I think I can offer some pointers. As one of the largest Gen Z YouTubers, a formerly secular, now Christian Zoomer, member of Generation Z, that's why I'm called RedeemedZoomer, I think I know how we can evangelize Generation Z, the least religious generation in human history. And I'm seeing a lot of potential to do that because I'm part of the Reconquista movement, the movement of mostly young people to try and retake America's historic churches, historic mainline Protestant churches that the country was founded upon, And that's, I think, the only way to retake America for Christ. So I am seeing a lot of energy amongst Gen Z people to try and return to traditional Christianity, to try and return to the Christianity of our fathers. But if we're going to actually have a tangible impact, we need to do this on a large scale. So here are a few ways I think we can evangelize Gen Z. Fundamentally, any sort of evangelism, any sort of converting people to your faith is feeding them what they're starved for. Now, this is most true on a deep spiritual level. St. Augustine prayed, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you." My PCU as a pastor likes to quote that a lot. So the way that you appeal to people with Christianity, with the gospel.
Oh, dear leader, I am only alive through your blessed intervention. And I think as the North Koreans say, it's something like the birds only sing for your existence. Things like this. That is the most servile statement in the history of mankind. I will, that's not hyperbolic. That is true. To tell a potentially existent creator, I am only made for you, and I've only found at peace when I am with you, is the most codependent and the most servile statement I think I've ever heard.
It's weak.
It's
weak. It's pathetic. It's unmanly. That's
talking about core.
Christianity is unmasculine at its core. It is a weak ass fucking belief system. They're a bunch of fucking subs.
This is true.
Yeah, that's how they are. They're a bunch of fucking subs.
I'm gonna get hated because I know this is gonna be so Christian nationalist filled that I'm gonna be, oh, okay, all right, I'm ready. My body is ready.
It's to show them that it feeds them what they're starved for. And Gen Z is, I think, a very ripe mission field because Gen Z is starved of a lot of the common good things that used to be just regular and normal in society. Because society has gotten less Christian, the culture has also degenerated. Because we believe that Christianity isn't just spiritually true, it's also physically true. And if Christianity exists in a civilization, it'll give earthly benefits to that society. This is very based on the Old Testament. When people collectively obeys God in the Old Testament, God blesses their nation.
This is prosperity gospel bullshit. The Bible's very clear, and the Bible's very clear that the sun rises and sets, and the rain falls on the wicked and on the prosperous. There's actually a psalm. Forgot what specific psalm it is, where the psalmist is crying out to God because he sees the wicked prosper and the righteous suffer. Right. The Bible acknowledges that people who are, wicked by the Bible's standards still may profit and prosper, at least while in this life. So how can you essentially assume that there's necessarily going to be those earthly benefits from faithfulness when, being faithful could very well lead to the destruction of your society? It seems to me that the notion of whether or not people are obligated to believe or be faithful has nothing to do with the material benefits one way or the other, right? At least in the actual ethical theory being fronted by the Bible.
Yes. I would also I would very directly say that every generation has this thing where that generation believes they invented promiscuity and wrongheadedness and retardation and corruption of the mind, body, and spirit. And let me tell you, that has been wrong as long as human beings have been alive, because that's how humans are. Because humans are not these white paragons everybody believes them to be. We are very complex creatures with complex moral systems. And it doesn't mean that we're right to do wrong things. But nobody invented this. People have been sleeping with each other before marriage forever. People have been lusting over each other's goods and wives and daughters and whatever else forever. And just as many of those people as there always have been, there have always been the good and moral and virtuous people. And it's always been that way. It was that way in the Bible before Jesus showed up. It was that way in the Bible before God even interacted with people the first time, for the first time in thousands of years after Adam and Eve, quote unquote, or supposedly, not quote unquote.
Allegedly.
So this is not a new thing. Allegedly, when he possibly allegedly came down and
Yeah.
talked.
Well, that's a very good point.
Very
One thing
open-minded,
the thing that Christians are always ignoring is the fact, they like to play, special pleading again and claim, oh, well, all this morality and these moral principles all come from Christianity. But the fact of the matter is that we had ethics before we had Christianity, that the Stoics existed, Eudaemonist thought existed. There was ethics being written about and being preached well before the Christian religion came about. Countless religions and philosophies that predate Christianity had their own formulation of the Golden Rule. The Golden Rule is not even from Christianity. So, like, you can literally look it up. They're like, the Golden Rule, and find all these really ancient mystics and philosophers.
just originally has this, and then it was also found in transcripts in the Indus Valley. It was found in ancient Greece as well, in
Yeah.
periods before
Golden Rule is
the
way more ancient than the Christianity. Christianity literally just ripped it off of other philosophies and religions. So this notion that you need Christianity, that it's somehow a critical component to a moral society, is fucking stupid. I agree that a moral, like, society needs morality in order to function, that we need a moral society. There's no reason ever presented by the religious for why their religion, their particular interpretation of their religion, is somehow a critical component to morality. And this idea, oh, well, social morality is declining, we need to return to religion. That's just a hand-waving bullshit excuse for attempting to emotionally strong-arm people into obedience to their cult, when in reality, they diagnose a problem and then they promise a poison as a cure.
Man, it's not a new play with these people. I mean, they've been doing this forever. And I mean, I remember when I was a Catholic, consistently having problems with statements like there were no good people before Christ. There were no good people before Christian idealism, because it made no sense to me as somebody who was a history nerd. That I was like, you're telling me like people sacrificing themselves and like for instance, the Spartan sacrificing at Thermopylae and going on a suicide run that they knew was likely going to be a suicide run, and it was more than likely not going to work out in their favor. It was like a 5% chance they could have worked out. In fact, actually, historically, it actually was rather close to them being reinforced had they not found the secondary.
The point you're getting at, though, is they were willing to do that without Christianity.
They all did. They all did that for the sake of for great countrymen, and also for the sake of what it meant to live in the world that they wanted to preserve. Right? You could say you don't like it or you do like it, but they sacrificed themselves for each other and for a greater ideal, and to not give in to the Persian menace, at least to them, that was coming at their doorstep. And they decided to put down thousands of years of argumentation between the Athenians and Thessalonians, other Greeks of all different kinds, to fight one enemy. Okay? That is a moral stance. And that is a positive thing. And I won't have anybody tell me that actions like that happen were just happenstance of occasional moral cohesion. No, these things are found within humanity well before Christianity shows up, and well before Judaism is anywhere near any of the Hellenistic world. So I don't give a damn what these people say about their moral authority over modern generations. It's ridiculous. I mean,
well, it's nothing but craven obedience out of fear of what the God might do. Right? It's not. I don't even think that they do it out of true love. Out of true love for their God. Like they claim, oh well, I actually I love Jesus Christ. It's like, really? How do you really?
You're scared of him, God.
It's like you really love this being, really.
Do you love him so much that you pray he doesn't send you to hell?
It's just, I know from experience that just guarding your thoughts and being so paranoid that allowing any amount of doubt to persist in your mind might condemn you to hell. So, but it's not a way to live.
No,
That is not a way to live
I'm
at
not.
all. No,
I'm not. I'm
true happiness is found in realizing that you are sovereign over your mind. You are sovereign over your thoughts. Nothing you think can be damnable. It's your actions that you should be judged. It's
correct.
yeah,
I'm ready to continue this when you
let
are.
us continue.
Very.
If America obeys God, God will bless our nation, and the blessings will even be conferred on those who are not necessarily Christian, because it's a very modern way of thinking to think that faith is just an individualistic thing. But no, nations collectively can either be Christian or not Christian. That's a very biblical theme. It's a very reformed Christian theme to evangelize nations collectively,
Yeah,
not just
prosperity
individuals.
gospel
But you also
bullshit.
have to evangelize
All
the
of this is
individuals.
prosperity gospel
There's
bullshit.
several things Gen Z is starved for. Number one is friendship and love. So Gen Z is very, very antisocial, and hookups have replaced true romantic relationships. Now, it used to be that
No, they haven't. No, they haven't. No, they haven't. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna move on really quick. But that's a stupid argument because people feeling horny and wanting to sleep with other people is never a substitute for being in love with somebody, and nobody, no matter their religion or no matter their moral character, would ever say that. Nobody. Unless they've ever been in love before. But that's just not a thing. But it's like another one of those like red menace type arguments that just doesn't
Yeah.
exist in the real world.
I mean,
People just throw out.
Old people from like fucking thousands of years ago were complaining about the profligacy of the youth. And the youth of thousands of years ago were complaining about the fogeyism of the elderly of their time. It's like this notion of, oh, the next generation is going to destroy the society, or the previous generation has fucked us. These two sentiments have always existed with every successive generation. Every generation, when they see the new generation, they think, oh, they're going to fuck us. And the new generation, when they come of age, they're like, we've been fucked. Now, this is just universal.
Because this is just called social growth and development as human beings from immature to mature beings. All this is.
Yeah.
This is not difficult to understand. So
people would sleep with their boyfriends or girlfriends instead of getting married. That was like the degeneracy of the previous generations. Nowadays, people don't even really have boyfriends and girlfriends. They have situationships, they have hookups, they have friends with benefits. So the church must provide long-lasting communities where people can reliably get not only meaningful friendships, but healthy and pure romantic relationships. Both of them are necessary for human flourishing, both platonic friendships and romantic relationships. Some people are born with the gift of celibacy. Most people do desire to get married. The vast majority of people will desire that, and it's a good desire.
the gift
that's
of
created to us.
celibacy.
I think the church
Yeah,
is
he's
the
just
only
mirroring the
institution
Apostle
that can
Paul
make
right here.
romance great again. Romance has been completely obliterated by hookup culture, and only the church can fix that, because only the church has a metaphysical, existential reason for why hookup culture is immoral.
No,
Right? Gen Z is also
Also no.
starved for meaning and purpose. Gen Z, they either get meaning from like worldly success or pleasure. And given that the economy is not great, worldly success is becoming harder and harder, especially for Gen Z men. The school system is rigged against men. Like in the school system, you'll have a lot of guys with above average intelligence totally fail because they're not neat and organized. They'll be like watching 10 hours of history documentaries on YouTube, but in history class, they'll fail because their notes are not organized.
I feel like this is projection from his experience.
Yeah, I
Anyway.
mean, there are legitimate complaints that like people in the manosphere have levied about like certain emerging disadvantages that men may have in society. But I think a lot of it is just similar to the whinging of fucking feminists. No, my gender's oppressed. I don't consider it oppression that men form the majority of dangerous jobs. I don't consider it oppression or being socially disadvantaged that men are more likely to die in combat than women. It's just that men are overall more suitable for those kind of roles. We have more physical prowess. We're more capable overall. So obviously we're going to be more likely to gravitate towards those niches. Similarly, I think that oftentimes it might be the case that whether it be by nature or nurture, by socialization or just the way women are, but women are not as restless as men. And so oftentimes they'll have men
Generally,
work.
yeah.
You'll have,
The rest of things.
you'll have
It's a
men wash out
drive.
of school because even though they're nominally intelligent, they don't have the patience to fucking study. But honestly, that's their own fucking fault. So it's
Well, like this, a lot of these things applied to groups are much more of the problems of individuals within X, Y, and Z group having their own reasons for sucking at the things they suck at. Not necessarily this innate difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think there's there's definitely also a lot of like first world problemisms here. It's like, if we actually had like, I mean, there are certain legitimate problems, like the fact that the family courts overwhelmingly prefer women over men. Like the decisions are overwhelmingly in the direction of women over men. I mean, one could argue, well, it's just because the women are overall the better caretakers of the kids and the men are overall more likely to be fucking deadbeats. Maybe that's true. I mean, I'm not willing to totally discount that, but it does sound like there might be some ingrained institutional prejudices there. Possibly. There's an argument for that. But for the most part, I think a lot of the MGTOW and manosphere, complaints are nothing but the mirror image of the feminism that many of us have come to deride over the years. Oh, women are oppressed.
It's a lot of men take personal responsibility. Now watch me bitch about something instead of taking personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Very annoying. And also, just to tie it off really quickly, none of those problems, whether real or believed to be real or whatever else, or even fake, will be solved or helped by any return to Christ whatsoever. There is a non sequitur. Everything he's about to say, everything he just said, has nothing to do with religion at all.
Meanwhile, the 20 highlighter girls who just regurgitate what the textbook says, they get like A+. So, especially Gen Z men, struggles to succeed economically. So that means Gen Z turns to mere pleasure. Most Gen Z men have just been pacified with what I call MVP, marijuana, video games, and pornography. And we need to reject that. We need to reject that and pursue true meaning and purpose.
Hey, let's pause this one. He's presenting good points. He's actually spitting fire here. But, I mean, this has nothing to do with religion. I mean, this has to do with just ethics. And so this has to do with just becoming a virtuous human being. Like, I don't need to believe in God to think that maybe I shouldn't be drug-addled or mindlessly hedonistic, living the life of a grazing animal. Like, I want more out of life. And if you want more out of life, you have to be willing to grab life by the horns and do the work, wrestle it, to extract what is meaningful out of it, right? You have to take charge of your life, become the captain of your own ship, and fight for life, fight for life itself, fight for the life you want to live. And honestly, interestingly enough, a turn to religion is kind of the opposite. A turn to religion is instead of becoming the captain of your ship, it's okay. Well, I'm too incompetent a fucking captain of my ship. The storm scares me, so I'm going to hide in the below decks. You, minister, you who claims to speak on behalf of God, you captain my ship for me. I'll just cower beneath decks, right? It's these problems are not solved by a turn to religion. I think what he's going to get to is the whole sense of community thing, and it's like non-religious people have communities. I mean, we're part of one right now. We're Atheists for Liberty. We are a community of non-believers who are united by the common cause of personal freedom, of achieving freedom for human beings on this earth. So, yeah, subscribe to Atheists for Liberty.
Yes, shout out, selfless plug. But yeah, I mean, we already have those groups, whether they be in our D&D circles, or whether they be in lunch groups we go with, or whether they be at political conferences we attend, or whether they be at debates we throw, or dinner parties, or wherever have you. These things are already where we find our social batteries recharged in our society, our mini societies that we grow, our communities sustained. The church might be an easy conduit for that, sure, but that might be the exact same thing as saying that religion might not be true, but it makes you feel better about your community. So what does it matter? It's the exact same thing.
a community founded on a lie will always be nothing but corrupt to its core. I mean, whether it's community as in between two people, a romantic relationship founded on lies, or whether it's an entire group of people united by lies. A lie will remain a lie no matter how passionately it is believed. And that lie,
Correct.
the fact that it is a lie will always mean that the core of that relationship, whether it between two or a multitude, will always be hollow and brittle.
Exactly. Exactly right.
Objective and eternal meaning can only be found in Jesus Christ is what Gen Z needs. Of course, every human in human history does need the gospel. But I think given that Gen Z is so starved for any sort of meaning and purpose other than mere pleasure or success, I think the gospel can especially help what Gen Z specifically needs. If you believe the gospel, if you believe that Jesus died for your sins, if you believe that you can have eternal life, then that is an objective meaning greater than any success, greater than any pleasure. Like, eternal life is eternal. Every pleasure that we can have, whether, I don't know, money, sex, food, whatever, it's going to go away. Every earthly pleasure is temporary. And you don't need to be a genius to know that eternal goodness is better than temporary goodness.
Let's pause this right here.
Okay, the third thing is beauty and...
He's a hedonist. This was a hedonistic argument. It's like, oh, well, what's better, eternal pleasure or temporary pleasure? He can feel good forever or feel good temporary. He's not anti-hedonism. He's just the most extreme form of it. You escape that by realizing that certain pleasures do not produce happiness. They do not produce
Correct.
satisfaction. That's how you escape the hedonism trap, not the more happiness versus less, or I guess more accurately pleasure versus less pleasure. Because let's be quite honest, he's not really talking about happiness when he's talking about eternal subservience to his cosmic tyrant. That's
And
not,
he might help you, but hey, you can wear your chains if you want to, and I'll take them off.